Welcome to a special episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast at the Central Pennsylvania Music Awards.
Hello and welcome to another special episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel.
And as always, I'm your co-host, Alan.
We are backstage at the 2025 Central Pennsylvania Music Awards and Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
We're going to be interviewing all of the inductees. We're going to get to know a little bit more about them, their journey to get here, and how they're feeling tonight. So stay tuned.
We are here with Mike and Steve of the Innocence Mission. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here tonight.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate it. Your guys' band formed back in the, I guess let's just say the mid-'80s. Started out, I guess, you could tell the story. So let's talk about the beginning of the band and we'll go on from there.
Sure, we all met in high school. We were in some musicals together. That's how we first got to know each other.
Okay.
And then around 1982, we played our first show was at the Lancaster Catholic High Carnival.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was actually the very first Lancaster Catholic High Carnival. Yeah, in 1982. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you guys originally actually started as a cover band, correct?
That's correct,
the way
sure.
you guys, so who did you guys cover?
Oh, it was all the classic rock of the day.
I should have rephrased it.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite to cover?
Do you have a favorite?
I liked it when we did a lot of the hard songs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So because Karen could do it well,
slayed
and
those,
we did a lot of Ann and Nancy Wilson covers.
Oh, okay.
I mean, anything
All right.
that was popular at the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
and
Led Zeppelin.
Led Zeppelin, because she could sing really high.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so you guys are crushing it already. So then what made you guys take that shift from the cover band to the independent band? Like you guys were going to start writing original?
Well, Karen was always writing. Even in the early days, we would play do some of her songs.
She had something to say, and it was really, really good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
You recorded your first album in 1989, was it correct?
Yeah.
So, and now, if I'm not mistaken, that first album was recorded by the husband of Joni Mitchell, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
What was it like getting to work with someone like him? I can't remember his name. It's escaping me right now.
Larry Klein.
Larry Klein. Thank you.
Yep, there it is.
I never worked so hard in my life.
Yes,
because you were not going to leave there without impressing them.
Part of it was we were green as musicians. We never had any major studio experience, and I'm just speaking for myself because he's a bass player. He's a session bass player.
Yeah,
you've heard him. Early on, he, in the nicest way possible, he said, you got to get your act together. You got to really step it up to do, to play. So you got to really work on your performance and everything.
Absolutely,
so it was great. It was a great way to learn.
Yes. And then you guys, from that point on, then you guys kind of really prioritized recording independently. Then, correct? You guys didn't really sign with any of the bigger labels. You guys were more focused on the independent recording, correct?
No, we were on A&M for all three records.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't until later, after A&M was purchased by Polygram, that the group went independent.
That's what it was. Okay,
Yeah.
I apologize. I must
get your facts right.
I misread my card. I misread my card in my notes. I apologize. But you guys do have a very cool sound. You guys are known for your ethereal sounds as well. How did you guys? What drew you guys to that kind of sound? Did it just kind of come naturally? Did you guys already have a preconceived kind of sound you guys wanted to create? If you wouldn't mind elaborating on that.
Can you elaborate on that?
I can elaborate on that.
Yeah.
A lot of the style, Mike and I developed playing with Don and Karen. And by the way, that 1982, that means Mike and I have been playing together for 46 years, by the way.
Which, congratulations, because I don't really know a lot of people that can say that.
Yeah. So a lot of the style, and I'm, like I said here, I'm speaking for myself, but what I noticed was, because Karen is such a soft-spoken person, it really draws you in. And when she was presenting songs to us, a lot of times what we would hone in on was just the vocal melody.
Okay.
So Mike and I learned to play off of melody versus off of rhythm. So we were constantly honing in on what she was doing, her phrasing, what she was saying. I was always concerned or interested in what she was saying because I wanted to play something that I wanted to play visually, right?
That's awesome.
Right, one of the things that I remember all the time was a statement by Wayne Shorter where, you play like a duck floating on top of the water, but underneath there's tension. And I wanted to take what she was presenting and play visually. So I think for me, it developed a unique style for a drummer, not locking in and playing time with the bass player, but playing off melody.
That's really interesting. That's a really creative way of like looking at.
Is that what you think gave you your edge?
I think it helped craft my style.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, and now here you guys are. You guys are at the Central Pennsylvania Music Awards, and you guys are being inducted into the Hall of Fame.
There you go.
How does that feel? What was it like getting that phone call, being told you guys were going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Oh, it was fantastic. I couldn't even believe it. So yeah, it's not something that I expected. So I don't know what else to say, but yeah, it was a thrill for sure.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
if you could describe this entire journey all the way up to this point in a few words, what would you choose?
I think life has a way of cycling, and when you're young and starting out, you're your own person and trying to figure things out, and then in your middle life you kind of dote on others. Like I raised a family, worked on my career, so on. Now that the kids are grown and I've let go of the career, I'm playing again and I'm finding myself again.
Yes.
So that is a gift that has been given back to me, and I'm thrilled.
That's a beautiful message, honestly. Not a lot of people get to have that opportunity then to come back to what their craft was and find themselves again. So that's awesome.
Right.
I'm really happy that you were able to do that as well. That's cool.
I feel extremely fortunate.
That's man. You guys are inspiring.
Yes. I did have one other question. So, and maybe I'm not as well versed as I should be to ask this question, but indie, I'm a big fan of indie music, and I really feel like it had its big renaissance in the later 90s. What was it like playing indie in the early 90s?
It was, for me, there was so much great music happening in the 90s. And we were on the road all the time, so we did a tour at Borders, the old Borders bookshops. We would play there in the afternoon in the city that we were going to play the gig later. And they would not pay us, but they would let us, take a CD or a book or something.
And soup.
Yeah, so
yeah, that's a good deal.
So I heard a lot of great music because people at clubs, they would want to talk and they talk about bands that they like and everything. So I got, I went through this giant stereo lab, phase for like about 4 months on the road. So just people,
That's
talking
awesome.
to people. Yeah,
Yeah. We both teach now too, so our students turn us on to new things and stuff that's going on and music that we should pay attention to.
That's got to be such a rewarding experience too, to be someone you carved your own path and now you get to educate others in music and just in life.
A lot of people have given us things out of their free will and helped us. It's time for us to do the same thing. It's time to us give it back.
That's awesome. I have one final question for you guys, if you don't mind. Being Hall of Fame inductees, being legendary musicians, what's one piece of advice that you would give to people that might try to aspire to reach the same kind of level of fame, try to impact the same amount of people? What's some advice you would give them?
I'd say this has been said many times before, but just focus on the work, not on trying to be famous. And I'm like I said, I'm not the first person to say this, but if you just focus on the work, it'll come.
You got to focus on the progress,
Right.
Not focus on the finish line.
Right. I
Follow
think so,
your
yeah.
heart, follow
Yeah.
your inner voice.
I love that.
Well, you're a man of
Yeah, man.
perfect specific words, and I love it. I love. We should definitely have you on a full segment then, if you guys would ever be willing to come on.
Yeah.
I would love to dive deep with you guys.
I'll do it if he does it. Yeah.
He's been through a lot.
I would love to hear all of it. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time
absolutely.
to stop over and speak with us then, and congratulations again on everything that you guys have accomplished.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure meeting you guys.
Pleasure
Thank
meeting you guys. Thank you. So again, we are backstage here at the Central Pennsylvania Music Awards, and we have Frank Jordan of the Jordan Brothers Band.
Hi, everybody. This is great. I'm so excited about this whole thing. I feel like a star.
Well, you are a star.
You are a star. You're being inducted into the Hall of
Somebody
Fame.
came up to me one day and said, "You know what star is spelled backwards?" And I thought about that a little bit. I'll give you time.
Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to come and
My
speak with us.
pleasure. This is really a thrill for me. Thank you so much. All the hard work paid off.
Hey,
It's awesome.
So, speaking of it, you had to put in a lot of hard work. This started as a family band.
Yes,
This
it
started
did.
This started not to date you or age you anyway, because you don't look a day over 35, sir. But you guys started way back. Please tell us the beginning. Tell us how this whole
I
thing
got to
started.
tell you, we started as a variety band, wanting to play bar mitzvahs, weddings. So we learned chardash, polka. We learned everything. Golden slippers. We had what they call a pony book or a black market book, and I played sax at the time. And
I love the sax.
Well,
Love the sax.
Oh, wow.
Love the sax. I
Tell
got
me.
a sweet spot for the sax, sir.
All right, when you're in the back seat of the car and that sucker comes on, look out. Anyway, yeah, so there I was, playing sax and everything, and I had a transpose, a B-flat clarinet and saxophone, which I played.
Okay.
You had to transpose at a half note above.
Okay.
Because it's keyed differently. And we had this pony book, and I'd translate on the book. We played everything there was 1,001 songs, so we never would get caught.
Golly.
Yeah, imagine carrying that many records, 45s around. That'd be a heavy weight.
That would be a lot.
But that's how we started, and then the introduction of rock and roll, Bill Haley and the Comets, Elvis Presley. We jumped on that bandwagon, and that's what took over everything. It's just everybody came to see us. We were playing Everly Brothers, their early stuff. Wham! People jamming the door. So we stuck with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you had your hit song "Give Me Some Lovin'." When I'm sorry.
Here comes the big controversial argument here. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know there was
I did not know there was a controversial argument either.
Oh, enlighten us,
We
please.
had the release in the United States, the first release. Spencer Davis followed. Now, the way the story was, they heard that in Boston, we had the #1 record, sold 84,000 records in the first week.
Oh, my God.
Well, when they heard, this is the story I heard now, don't blame me, they got on the bandwagon and said, oh, my God, this is on our album. Let's redo it. We'll go in the studio. So they did. I have a good friend named Jerry Granahan, back in the 50s, had a hit, No Shimmies, Please. And he called and he said, Frank, I got the record. I am doing it over, piano, girl answers, singers and everything in the background. So they put it out after we released it, and they covered it. So, hey, that's the way life goes, folks.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was so close. Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say close. I think he still accomplished a pretty good amount.
Yeah,
I still think it's a pretty good accomplishment. Yeah.
Well, back in that day and around that time, soul music was very hot. Wilson Pickett had the #1 song, Mustang Sally.
Yep.
And it was just so hot. People were buying black records, we call them today. And Spencer Davis came out, and I swear, each guy has to be black. They sounded black. And so did the record. So I think that's what really was one of the reasons, just covered it. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, so as someone that has, again, not trying to date you, sir,
oh boy.
has come through all these generations of music, and you see where music is now. What is that journey like? How can you explain that to some of our viewers, what that journey of music is
I'd be
like?
glad to give you a quick story. We were packing them in with our, I call it an oldies show.
Yep.
We were doing the Everlys and Elvis and all that, and Lakeside was packed. I heard the story I hear is 3,200 kids. Now, we're talking teenagers in one building.
Okay.
So we're seeing this, but also at the same time, we're hearing a difference in music. Classic rock, if you will, now.
Yep.
And we had to start playing this because we were not a copy band. Well, maybe you could say that. Now
Okay.
you've got legend bands and things like that.
Yes.
So we started doing, I'll never forget it, we did Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. It was the first real heavy metal type record we did. Our dancers now standing there looking. They are not getting the beat. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was done in 5/5 time. I can't swear on that.
Okay.
So, they couldn't pick up the beat on it. They were a little slow on that, though. And so we could see the dancing crowd slowly did. And we grew our hair long. We did the bell-bottom thing.
You guys committed.
Oh, boy, we
You
loved
guys
it.
committed.
But believe me, these musicians were awesome. Playing the double bass on the drums and all the things they did, chord progressions were awesome. So we jumped on it, loving the music. And so the crowd dwindled, and we picked up a whole new crowd. And coming down here with a friend by Jerry, come on, Frank, he called us down and he said, will you guys come down to Denver Park?
Okay.
And I said, all right. So we went down, gave him a nice little price. And next thing you know, these teenagers were picking up on our music. We were playing Paranoid, Black Sabbath. We were playing all this heavy metal stuff. We picked up a whole new crowd, and we started working this crowd and staying in that vein. Finally went back to our own crowd, and they went, it ain't bad. They started getting into it. It's crazy. The more you hear a song on radio, the more you get to like it.
Yeah.
It's true.
At first,
repetition
am I right?
is key.
You hear it,
yeah.
you go, yeah, but the more you hear it, it proves itself.
Absolutely. What was that like? I don't want to cut you off. I know you definitely got a question here, sir. But what was that like? I mean, as a saxophone player and a clarinet player, as you start going to Black Sabbath and Paranoid, what was that like as a musician?
You get the sax and you go, brr, 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 brr. No, you don't. What you do is you switch. And I'm very lucky, and thank you, good Lord, I was musically inclined. I could pick up instruments. I was playing guitar. I was playing bass. So I picked up the bass with the band and started doing this stuff with the bass, and it worked. So we were all really surprised that, okay, the kids are accepting this. It's okay. Let's do it,
That's
Now
awesome.
we get into James Gang and stuff that got a little tough.
Okay.
But it worked.
That's awesome.
It worked, yeah.
Oh, my good. I could listen to your stories all day, sir. I'll be honest
Well,
with
I
you.
tell you what, when we were doing this and making the change, we heard someone going, "Oh, God, man, they're awful. They're playing this new lousy," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we just kept at it and kept proving, we can do this. And then we picked up that crowd. It was great. It was
So you
great.
helped pave the way for the metal music scene a little
did
bit.
what?
You helped pave the way.
Yeah. You mean for a lot of musicians?
Yeah, of course.
Especially,
you stuck with it.
When we first started doing rock and roll, there was these older time musicians who, by the way, we learned off a band called the Mansion 4.
Okay.
We learned our instrument, not their music, and did then learn their music. But we were going and playing this rock and roll, and they were going, "I'm not playing that," the older musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's where you make your mistake. Stay with the program. Play the stuff you're hearing on the radio. Thank you, DJs all over the world. Play what you're hearing. And this audience now is listening to that and picking up on it and liking it. So it pays off.
Music is ever changing. That's the beauty of music.
The universal language.
If you're resistant to, it's exactly right. The
Right.
universal
Universal
language.
language, yeah.
So if you're resistant to that change, then maybe it's time for you to get off this journey. That's where your journey ends. You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah,
agree with you.
that's right,
So if you're
yeah.
not willing to take the journey that what is music, then
That's right.
see your way off.
Hang it off. But I enjoyed playing that. We loved it. Bob started playing. Now, we always played with an accordion.
I also, I'm not BSing you. I actually also love the accordion. If you can tear it up on an accordion, I'm here for it.
Joe played the accordion, which was a heck of a lot easier than carrying around a B3 organ.
I would think so.
We gutted it, but still going up a fire escape, boy.
Oh, my
It's not nice.
Oh, my goodness.
We had what they call a Leslie, which spins the music.
Yep.
We carried those up fire escapes. Whether it was icy, winter, summer, spring, we carried those babies around. So
Dedication.
You had to be in shape.
Yeah, to be in shape.
It'll make you
and
in
you're
shape.
still in shape. Don't
I
let anyone.
feel good. I really do. I'm not promising by the end of the evening, but right now I'm good. Yeah.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Danny, do you have any other questions for him, sir?
Just our typical wrap up.
I figured as much. That's why I panned off to you.
All right. Well, so given your experience over the years with the music scene, if you could, give any musician, whether they be just starting out or 10 years into their career, what advice would you give to any musicians today?
Just young musicians coming up.
Just anybody, really.
Stick with it. Don't listen to too many people, because critics are there and they'll always be there. Matter of fact, I use criticism as a way of getting better. I listen to them and I'll say, okay, maybe there's a little merit in what they said.
Yeah.
So listen to it, and if you feel like it's good for a change, make that change. Don't stand up and say, I know better than you. Because I'll tell you what, these kids, especially coming up, they're not stupid.
No.
And they'll buy what you put out if you stay with their vein, where they're at.
It's wonderful advice.
That's
Thank you.
priceless advice. Frank, I want to say one more time, thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Congratulations on your induction into the Hall of Fame.
Awesome. Thank you
Yes.
all. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Frank, congratulations.
Hey, this is great. What a feeling. What a feeling. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
Here with the Soulville All-Stars. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us this evening.
Yes, thank you.
This band formed all the way back in 1967. Can we please talk about what that journey was like from then to now here in 2025?
Whoever wants to go
Yeah.
first. The floor is yours.
Well, I'll say something. We started out in a garage, as a lot of bands do. One of the members that couldn't make it tonight, Kurt Bruner, who will be here later, hopefully, it was his house, and the boys here, we all got together and formed our group. Record company came to us, Mr. Bobby Fulton.
Okay.
And from there, we had a couple of nice hit records. I was a trumpet player for the group.
I like the brass. I said this to the last person we had. He was a saxophone player, and I was going to say, this is what happens when you guys have very important people. That's okay.
Well, this is our sax player.
Okay.
This is the other guy. Kirk, we're backstage doing a podcast.
Where are you?
Yeah, we are.
Hurry up and get back here.
Go
We're
ahead.
keeping this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where are you?
Go ahead, Mill. What do you have to say?
Go ahead and do what?
Talk about it. Talk about the group and
The group?
Okay, that's cool. I will probably be done by then, but I
we
want
all
to
get
join
together.
But
It's
okay,
fabulous.
cool.
It just seemed,
See you-
it just seemed
see you
like
later, kid.
it was made for us.
Okay, bye.
When we got Soulville All Stars, it just blended.
That's an awesome
So
way to
did I.
describe that. Can you elaborate that? It felt like it was made for you guys. Can you elaborate on that? Because that's a very awesome way of
Well,
putting that.
When I say it was made for us, I came from I was in another group before this.
Okay.
And that group split, and I really wasn't looking to do much. And I would get phone calls about if I wanted to sing that night. And I would sing. Then I heard these guys, and they said, "Do you want to sing?" Of course. And from there,
And we kept you.
it was great.
That's awesome.
It was great.
I can see like the passion, like the happiness in your eyes as you're talking about it and everything. That says a lot, actually.
Yes.
Because you can see people reminisce. We've done this a few times doing the interviews, but truly seeing the passion in your eyes as you were saying it, like I could almost feel like I could feel it from you, and
Certainly.
I
that's
wish I
very
could
awesome.
still sing.
I'm pretty sure you can still sing.
No.
Oh, get out of here.
I lost my, I won't say ability, but you could hear it in my voice.
Understood,
Trying
sir.
to sing is hard, very
I
hard.
believe that, sir.
And so I let it go.
Well, we're happy to be here celebrating you tonight.
Correct.
There you go.
Exactly, for all the hard work that you put in.
That'll work.
That's exactly right.
Can I ask, where did the name Soulville All Stars come from?
Okay, so the record company
Okay.
was Soulville Records. We were the Soul Brothers.
Right.
And they came to us and said, would you like to make a record? We said, sure. Would you like to be the Soulville All Stars? And we said, why not?
No way.
You can call us the Garbage Cans if you're going to give us a record.
So it's still that way then too. Okay.
Yep, so, of course, he said, you can call us any names, we've been called worse names than this, so we'll keep it. And it was Soulville Records, and, and Bobby Fulton came to us, and I will say something about this band, because I was in 3 other bands before this one, and there was, as Milton said, there was a magic here at that particular point in time.
It was.
There was something going on.
It was. You could tell. You could
palpable.
feel the electricity. Not plugging everything in, but you could feel it.
You could. There was absolutely
You could feel
something
it.
here.
We all got along right
Got
up
along
from
real
the
good.
get-go.
We all laughed a lot.
Yeah.
Usually at somebody else's expense.
Well, it sounds like just a big old group of friends getting together and doing what they love.
Well, a lot of us didn't even know each other necessarily.
Until we got together.
And
Really?
Then, and then
I
we
don't
all
even
came
know
from
these guys now.
we came from different groups. Like you said, Soul Brothers were a solid group at the time, but some of those guys left, some of us filled in, and we became the Soulville All Stars, and it really was a brotherhood. I mean, we
It
were
was.
close, very close.
That's
And
awesome.
it was quick.
It happened right away.
Which was
Yeah.
very interesting. It was, and that's the thing about musical groups. It's either there or it isn't.
I can agree with that.
And immediately with these guys, and like I said, I'd been in several other bands and had a good time in those bands, but when I hit this band, there was something really fun going on. Not just the fact that they sounded great, which they did,
That was just a plus.
but there was something really fun going on with this whole group, and it just,
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It
we
worked.
backed a number of entertainers,
Yeah.
like Billy Stewart.
Okay.
That's just one, but Billy Stewart I remember very well. He, when he heard us, well, first he asked us if we knew his songs. We knew his songs.
we had a whole medley of them.
And
Yeah.
when we backed him, he'd be singing and he goes, turn around, look at us like, wow. And then he, when we took a break, he came over and said, you guys are fantastic. He said, I'd like to take you on the road with me. Oh, well, we knew we couldn't do that.
No.
But it was something.
The other thing, Milton, we were a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
That's right.
How old?
We were,
says how old.
When we recorded that record, Milton and I were 20.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
19 or 18.
18.
That was probably 19.
19. Guitar player was 16.
Yeah.
And the bass player was 17, and the other, Kirk was 17.
Yeah.
Wow, so you guys really were just kids.
Yeah. We were just kids.
But awesome.
But you guys were paving the way at the same time. Was that something that you guys, I know you guys knew there was something special there, but did you guys think back at 17, being a bunch of kids, did you think it was going to take you guys all the way to something like this?
No.
And not a chance.
All of us found out about these two songs that did regionally well, not just here.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm aware of the fact that the ballad was #1 in Atlantic City. We got play in Detroit. We got play in the Carolinas, but then it kind of went away. Yeah. What we didn't know was that it was a major hit in England.
Really?
Till today.
So we're jumping on an airplane right now.
So the 45, the two songs that I'm going to perform tonight.
Yes, sir.
Those 45s are selling for $250 on eBay. It's ridiculous.
That's incredible.
And I didn't find out about this until the year 2000.
Oh my goodness.
So this was going on, since 1970 over there. We had a hit record. As Andy Warhol said, everybody has their 15 minutes of fame, and we were on the wrong damn continent.
That's hilarious. So I do got to ask, as a little bit more of like an intricate question then. So you guys are obviously known for doing very good soul covers, yes, but also writing your own original. Yep. How did you guys find that happy balance, and what made that balance important to you guys? Was there ever a choice that you guys wanted to keep doing the covers? Was there ever a time that you guys wanted to only do original? How did you guys find that happy balance, and how did that add to your guys' success today?
You mean as far as writing music?
Yes, sir.
He did.
Well, and the thing was, at that point,
we all had an input.
Yes, the arrangement, everything, was all of us. And the other piece of that is, at that point in time, you didn't have to be just an original act or just a cover act. It was a different time than today. Yeah. We could, we were very happy doing our songs and doing covers. We love doing covers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's what we grew up on.
I wish that part could come back, honestly.
I do too.
I really do, because there's a lot of bands out there that they have very good original talent, but you could also see and you could hear like they would absolutely do a phenomenal job covering another artist. And sometimes you just want to hear that. You're like, I want to hear your take on the song. But you're right. It is a different time now, and it really is a whole lot. Either you make it as a cover band, and then maybe you might be able to branch out and do your original stuff, or you simply make it as your original stuff.
Exactly.
And I do see that trend.
And it's a whole different. When we were kids, this is the other thing. These guys today do not have a place to hone their craft. When we were kids, we could play 3 nights a weekend. There were fire halls and teen dances everywhere. Today, it's it's legal. Nobody wants to take the risk of having teenagers in their building.
It's true.
But we could play 3 nights a week every weekend, and that's how we became performers.
Teen clubs were a big thing in the late 60s.
Yeah. And it's all gone.
That's true. Would you also say you would kind of correlate that to the rise of technology?
More and more than anything, it's legality.
Okay.
We're a litigious society, and people want to sue you right away. So one kid gets in a fight, and God help us, he gets hurt.
And see, that's
and
funny.
The parents own the building.
And when you're in a metal band and you're doing a breakdown, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see people fighting in the pit. So that's really bad for metal bands on a legal stance.
But they have insurance for that.
That's true.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
They expect that with that particular. But
makes
no,
sense.
I mean, I feel bad for these guys because they can't do what we did.
Yeah.
They have no. And how do you become a performer if you can't perform? So that's why there's not that many performers anymore.
It makes sense. And it sounds like you've thought about this a lot. So, Danny, I'm going to let you ask the question that we always ask towards the end here is.
Well, given your experience over the years, what advice would you give to any aspiring musicians today, whether they be very new into their journey in music or even a tenured musician? What would be any advice you would give to any musician?
Well, I look at it this way. If you get the itch, scratch it.
I like that.
I like it.
I agree. And get on stage every time you can
Right.
and hone your craft. Learn how to be a performer.
Exactly.
Don't just be a player. Learn how to perform. Because I'm sorry, but original songs are great, and some of them are amazing, but you got to sell.
Yeah.
That's a very
You
valid
gotta
point.
sell.
That's a very valid point. Well, gentlemen, I want to take the time once again to congratulate all of you for being with us. If some of you guys don't know, Rich is actually a second inductee as well. He's not the only one. There are others as well. But congratulations to all of you as well for your induction into the Hall of Fame. Thank you for taking the time to come and speak with us. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into your guys' story. It was really, honestly, an honor.
Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We are here with the legendary Mike Reed. I had to give it to you.
You did. Come on.
I mean, let's be honest. All right, we're standing next to a
Not
Grammy
even
Award
in
winner.
my family am I a legend, okay?
You're a Grammy Award winner. You're a previous professional football player, and you're now being inducted into the Hall of Fame for the Central Pennsylvania. What is your qualification for legendary? What is your standard?
Well, let me tell you how I see it. You know, I spent half of my young years in football and half in the rest of them in music.
Okay.
And people say, wow, that's how wonderful. And for me, I managed to stay one step ahead of a real job. I was afraid of real work, you know. So I did two things that I loved more than anything in life, and they haven't found me out yet, but they're closing in.
I mean,
yeah.
you're even part of the National Songwriters Hall of Fame as well. Like, I mean, you have some pretty good qualifications to you. What would you contribute your transition from football into a successful music career?
Well, Alan, it wasn't that much of a transition. I started piano lessons when I was 6 years old.
Okay.
Grew up in Altoona.
Okay.
My dad worked in the railroad. My mom worked. We were a typical blue-collar, Altoona blue-collar family. The first music I heard that I really listened to were the hymns in church.
Okay.
And so music was there from the very beginning, you know. I didn't play football or organized sports till I got to high school.
Okay.
So they were two. Then I went to Penn State and played under Joe Paterno.
Which is awesome.
And I majored in music, and he loved that. He loved his players majoring in. We had physics majors, chemistry. I was in music. He loved that. Of course, you had to get your butt down to practice, you know. But
Yeah.
but you could not, under Joe, you could not cut class, or there was a no-no. So music was always kind of there. I want to tell these kids tonight, you know, there's a little silent self. There's that part of you that desires to be given voice to. And they feel it, and I felt it, and it gets pretty relentless enough for me to leave the NFL. Of course, this is in the 70s, you know, so.
It was still legendary.
Well,
the NFL was definitely known.
It was, but listen, I was the seventh kid I only am going to tell you this rather than toot my own horn. I was the seventh kid drafted in the first round, okay? And I signed for $22,000.
Man,
that was what I signed for. So I missed it by a few zeros.
Yeah, just a bit, just a
little bit. So it was an entirely different time.
That makes sense, though.
Yeah,
100%.
The two big things. The game is still the game.
Sure.
Running, passing, tackling, blocking. What's different now is the amazing athleticism of these kids and the gargantuan amounts of money.
That makes sense.
Yeah, those are the two things that are different about the game.
Now that you bring that up, I got an off-the-cuff question. What would you, in your personal opinion, which is better, hearing the crowd for music or hearing the crowd for football?
Ooh. I think most guys on a football field would tell you they don't really hear you don't really hear. You're kind of, when you see them, they're in a kind of zone.
Yeah.
You don't put yourself there. It just automatically happens. But there are very few things in life, Alan, that rival for me a room full of people either laughing at something you've said or crying at a song you've written or saying to you afterwards that song, what it means to them. The difference, football breaks your body.
True.
Music breaks your heart. So take your pick, right?
That's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a really good analogy.
You know, I would say really the big thing is to your question, the players on the field, you don't really hear the crowd.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Now I got to ask about your music career a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So your first 2 releases came out. You were under Columbia Records.
Oh, when me as a singer?
Yes.
Yeah, my ill-fated. Go ahead.
Well,
I'll let you ask
I just
your
want to ask,
question.
how did you go from being a songwriter to becoming a solo artist and then going right to Columbia Records?
Bob Montgomery, rest in peace, a dear friend. He ran A&R there, and I had just gotten a Willie Nelson song. Willie had just recorded a song of mine, and Bob loved that.
Let's back up. You wrote a song for Willie Nelson?
Yeah, I've had.
That was not in the Wikipedia.
That was not in my notes either.
I actually got one on his brand new record, the record that he just put out.
No
but
way.
Anyway, so Willie had recorded this, and Bob called and said, and I was perfectly happy. I had 2 little kids, perfectly happy being a songwriter. And Bob Montgomery said, "Hey, I like Willie's record, but I like your demo. Why don't you make a record?" And I went, well, okay. And that's no way to be an artist. These kids today, as artists, if they're not successful, they're liable to end up in prison. I mean, they are so committed to what they're doing.
It's true.
Dedication's an understatement.
Yeah, they're one-dimensionally focused, and that's very difficult to have anything else in your life.
True.
Other than that, I didn't do that, and I was older. I was in my 40s. That was no time to start singing. But I managed to have a hit, a song called "Walk on Faith," and the next thing I know, I'm in a bus with a bay full of T-shirts with my picture on them, and I was out on the road, and finally, it just didn't make a lot of sense, So I said, I'm going to go back to writing.
Wow. I can't really call, like, off the top of my head, a bunch of people that got the opportunity, and I mean this in the most respectful way. They got to be the star. They got to be the one, like, this is the one the record wanted. You were on the bus. They had your picture on the T-shirt, and you were like, you know what? That's not for me. Like, I'm more comfortable behind the scene. I'm more comfortable writing the songs.
Let me tell you, Alan, one of the sweetest things in the world. I had a song out. It was an old country song on Ronnie Millsap, and I was at the Y, and I worked out and I showered, and 2 lockers over, I hear, as I'm getting dressed, I hear a guy singing a song of mine. He's just a guy who's there to work out, right? But he's heard this song on the radio, and he loves it enough to know it, and he's singing it out loud.
And he has no idea that the guy that wrote it is right next to him.
2 shower rows over. It was the sweetest moment. I just let it go. I didn't go up and say, "Hey, No, those quiet moments. If you want to give your life to being a star, that requires a certain kind of person.
Sure.
That really requires, there can't be a lot else. And then eventually when you go through that window of popularity, you got to reclaim some kind of life, and that can be tough.
Absolutely.
So these kids that are stars today, they get my vote, man. They are committed like you wouldn't believe. And so I really didn't have that. I committed that way to writing. But performing and being in front of people, no, not so much.
It's funny, you have your heart, like, kind of, you're always thinking of like the kids and like how all of that goes, and it's on par because you do a lot of philanthropy.
Yeah.
Hey guys, words are hard sometimes, but yeah, you do a lot of philanthropy, and I feel like that kind of makes sense. But what made you decide to give back so much? What made you decide to get so involved with so many different things?
Oh, listen, I'll tell you, Alan, there's nothing as I say to young writers, the person you're going to have to spend the most time with is yourself. It's a self-absorbing, it's not narcissistic, but it requires a level of self-absorption. And that gets tiring and wearying sometimes,
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and so you just want to say, if I can do a fundraiser that raises some money for some poor child or some poor person, it's not that I'm a good, don't give me too much credit. It's just a reflection of the fact that sometimes you get sick of just you,
Yeah.
and
Makes
you
sense.
want to, it just makes you feel better a little bit to do something you think will benefit somebody else.
You want to create a bigger picture. Like you're like, I've been living in this picture. It's time to think bigger and outside my own picture.
Well, look, my wife will tell you. I mean, I've been with Susie. We've been together 50 years and been.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, look, let me tell you, I overheard her on the phone the other day saying, "I've been with Mike 50 years. Seems like 15 minutes underwater." Yes.
Wow. I was
keep that one, the old roller deck.
I was touched emotionally and then shattered.
And then then reality.
Yeah, it's true.
It's reality.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she will, she knows where I don't know if you guys are married or not, but eventually they find out where the bodies are buried.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. There's no, yeah.
Well, Danny, I'm going to let you wrap this one up.
So I guess our last question for you would be, it's something we like to ask a lot of people is, given your experience, what advice would you give to any musician, whether they be an aspiring brand new musician or even a tenured musician? What would be your advice from your experience?
Danny, I would say that's without giving it at this moment, thinking, I would tell them that the job of the creator, I think, is to love this world and to lean into this world, as difficult as it is, even things that wound you, things that hurt you, because if you're going to make a life in music, it's going to be joy, it's going to be exhilaration, it's going to be shattering heartbreak, and it's going to be crushing disappointment.
Yeah.
And the little affirmations you get here and there are like little water stops on a long marathon. You need them, they refresh you, but what they implore you to do is to keep going, keep going. So I would say to any musician, any writer, lean into it, with all the difficulty, the challenges, because those supreme moments when you connect with not only your instrument, with yourself, with a lyric, with an audience, are things you have to experience. You cannot explain what they are.
Yeah.
So
that is the best advice.
Take the good with the bad. Lean in with a relentless curiosity, Alan. That's what I say, even the things that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I think that's great advice, and we thank you so much for your time.
I didn't get too
No,
I'm just holding back tears right now. It's like we got to end this so nobody sees me cry.
Let him go, buddy. It'll be good for you.
Well, Mike, I just want to say once again,
Alan,
congratulations on your induction, and as a previous Bengals player, go Birds.
Mike, thank you so much.
Danny, nice to
yes,
be
and
with
go
you
Penn
guys.
State. I'll stay on your team there.
I'll go with that one too. I'll go with that one too.
You better hope the Bengals don't get an offensive line.
I was going to say.
You're not wrong. You're not
Okay.
wrong. But this is a
They
conversation
still,
for
why?
another
They
episode.
spend all that money and they still don't have an offensive line.
But they got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
But Burrow, I'm telling you, you can't have a quarterback get hit that much.
Hey, Cincinnati, you know who to call. Guys here. He's telling you. Just saying.
Sometimes they play so badly, I think maybe they do need a 77-year-old guy.
Hey, you could at least be an offensive coordinator,
Tell them what they're doing wrong.
There you go.
But thank you again.
All right,
Mike.
Alan.
Appreciate your time.
Nice talking to you guys.
Thank you.
And once again, we are backstage at the Central Pennsylvania Music Awards. This time we have August Burns Red. I'd be willing to say local legends. That's maybe my opinion. I don't know if you guys share the sentiment, but I definitely think so.
We do.
Dude, yes, absolutely right. Finally, someone recognizes us.
We are local legends.
But seriously, what's going through your guys' head tonight?
Weird saying that.
I actually didn't like that. I didn't like that.
It sounded different in my head.
It sounded way cooler in my head.
I don't know if you can actually be a legend if you consider yourself a legend. It's like
You can.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you just
I
did,
don't know.
so you can.
You just have to be like really narcissistic.
Well, yeah, like Joe Montana's not like, I'm a legend.
But no, you guys are being inducted into the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. What is that like for you guys, knowing where you guys started, your guys' entire journey? And like I've said before, I mean, you guys are recognized, I would say, pretty worldwide as a very influential metal band for many other acts as well. So what are your thoughts going through your head tonight?
This one's cool. This one's really cool. We're in Pennsylvania. Like, we drive by this theater. We've started the band, practiced, played a ton of shows within 30 miles of here. And it's just nuts that we don't have to go to like Los Angeles for the Grammys to be acknowledged. We're right here in our backyard, basically. Like, it's very, very cool. And I don't think it's really, it's significant enough that it hasn't really hit home with me because I'm home.
Right.
So when I go home tonight, I lay in bed, it's just gonna be like, wow, that was really cool. Like, I always dreamt about playing music, and we were just acknowledged by an organization in its 6th year at the American Music Theater. Like, there's so many different pieces of the puzzle that are really, really cool. And I'm very humbled and very stoked to be here tonight.
That's awesome. Well, I'm stoked to have you here as well. I don't know if you had any comments on that one.
No,
or did he take the words? He got it?
He got it.
He got it.
Did you guys ever
drove it home?
Did you guys ever think, back when this band first formed or shortly after, I know the first song I ever heard from you guys was Truth of a Liar. My older brother came in and was like, dude, you got to check this out. Yeah. And it was sick. I loved it. It's still one of my favorite songs of you guys. And me back then, I know personally, my experience, I would have never thought there would be a Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame and then you guys being inducted to it. Is this something that's kind of surreal to you guys, having that thought? Like, wow, the music scene has really changed and it's awesome to be a part of that?
Right, yeah. It's you don't really think about like what's around you and like where people come from that create music, Like, you don't know who's in your area as far as being part of this community. It's cool to get recognized in your hometown, like Matt was saying. Yeah. It's cool for us. It's cool for our families. Like, everyone's aunts and uncles get to see you in the newspaper, and they all like that.
They really like that.
Christmas,
right? Yeah, they really like that. But yeah, it's cool, and like I said, it's neat to see like people get recognized, and I'm like, oh, they're from the area. Oh, they're from the area. I didn't even know that. Like that kind of thing. It's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were saying something. No, do you have something?
I was commenting on see you in the newspapers. Like, that's got to be like kind of like an awesome experience because like there's definitely I remember being like the guy that was like in a band and like you meet like the girlfriend and the parents like, oh, like what do you do? And I'm like, oh, like I do this, but like I'm also in a band. But you guys get to be the ones that are like, oh yeah, like I play music, and they're like, no idea, and they're like, oh, like that's cute. Like, I'm like I tour the world. Like I don't just like dabble. Like I kind of like
I do this.
Yeah, I do this. Like, I'm about like I am this. Like, and I feel like that's got to be such a like satisfying feeling if you've ever been able to have that conversation
and it's like,
with people.
well, that's the thing. It happens like every time you have a cup or like meet someone. You're like, what do you do for a living? I play music, and it always goes deeper. It never stops there. They're always like. Elaborate.
Do I have to?
Okay, I'm listening.
Like, it never stops there because they're like, are you broke? What,
You can't just say, I'm a plumber. It's like, okay, figure that one out.
People know what you do.
Doing fine.
All right, that's fine.
I'm
a
musician. At what level?
Right.
Yeah. We're in the merchandiser. Okay.
Right now.
Right.
You're talking like amateur. You're like, like multi-time world touring. It's like, okay, so you're not broke, and it's like, sure, whatever works for you, man. Whatever works for you.
Yeah. No, I mean, with this band, the weird thing is for us, touring is how we create revenue,
right?
So we can pay off our mortgages, right? So we can live our lives. And we've been doing that for years. But the thing that people seem to recognize is like, oh wow, you're in the paper.
Right.
Or like, oh my gosh, you were nominated for a Grammy, which has no bearing on our success, really, or like our future. It's just like a very cool thing that people care about, and so do I. I think it's awesome, especially like the
Grammy, like, and also a check for $2.5 million.
Exactly.
Okay, so
you're gonna spend money actually getting there. And
I had this great uncle who was a pretty wealthy guy. He made money in finance. He was just like, we got nominated for a Grammy. He's just like, this is great. What's the prize? And I'm like, there isn't one. And he's like, oh. Like, he was so just like,
well, what's the point?
He was like, well, thanks. Like, I was excited, I think, but now I don't know if I am.
He was so defeated. He was just like, oh. And like, that was just like the end.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I'm right, but I'm pretty sure the prize is a Grammy. I don't know if that like quantifies to anything in your life.
Well, but like it's funny because literally, usually if you win a prize at like the highest level of or you get nominated for a prize at the highest level of whatever you're doing,
Yeah.
you do get something. Like, Olympic athletes, if they get a bronze medal, they get a bunch of money. Like, it's
True.
It's not just the bronze trophy.
Right.
Yeah. Well, to take it a step further, to be nominated for a Grammy is an award.
It was
Like,
great.
it's not
you're
even like
jumping through my questions, but it's perfect because
you
it's
didn't
going
even
on.
you didn't even win it, but it's like
Right.
congratulations.
But you got recognized enough to be even like contending
Exactly.
for that.
You do get a cool medal.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
I get it. It's just kind of a funny thing to.
It's like it's kind of fun. Like it's like the music industry looks at it like they look at musicians. They're like, hey, like your prize is you didn't win, but you were recognized enough to keep doing the thing that you love forever. And you're like, I'm sure as Matt, he's like, you do realize how tiring a 40-minute set is on drums playing my music, right? Like, muscle cramps are just like a daily thing for me.
Right. Like, if I could do that about 20 times less per year, that'd be great.
Yeah, exactly.
You could just give me a prize. Maybe I could compensate.
I would just love to hold something. Like, can you give me something like substantial for me to hold? Like,
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Was it kind of wild, like being nominated for a Grammy? Like thinking back to 2005, it's like, wow, wait, metal is now a Grammy scenario.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
was that like kind of a surreal moment when you guys were nominated for you?
Very much so, because while there was a metal category, it wasn't for bands like us.
Okay.
It was like Kiss
and
Metallica
Yeah.
and like bands like that.
Maiden.
Like the Foo Fighters won Best Metal Band the one year, and I remember Dave Grohl was just like, "Thank you, but we're not a metal band." Like that was literally.
And that's why I love Dave Grohl.
That was literally his response.
He's awesome.
And so like, it was really cool because like, I think for like metalcore genre, we were one of the first to like actually get nominated for a Grammy, and it really, like that was really cool. And then it, from after us, you started getting way more metalcore bands that started getting nominated for Grammys. I'm like, this is sick. And I remember like we got a text from our manager at the time who was like, "Congratulations, guys, you've been nominated for a Grammy." It like came overnight, and we were like, "Huh?"
He's like, it's one of those things where you like wake up, like, and you like kind of like checking, and you're like, wait, hold on.
No,
let me-
it was.
like,
It was.
that's what
Dude,
was.
I had like 25
Yeah.
text messages. And I remember thinking in my bunk, I'm like, all right, the first text message might be like a random one-off. But
Yeah.
if the second text message
Right.
is the first one, that's what's going on.
Right.
So it's like first message, congratulations. Okay, it's a good thing.
Yep.
Second thing is like the Grammys. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
Oh, this
then
is really happening.
You go through all of them. It's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
really happening. My cousin is the one that told me about it.
Yeah.
The first
So it
person
was-
I found out about was my cousin.
It was a complete surprise to you.
We had
Like, you
no
didn't
idea.
know
I
it was
had
even
no
the
clue.
possibility that was
No,
happening.
we had no idea.
no idea.
You found out after you were already
which
nominated.
was so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
It
that was
like
the best
the
part.
coolest thing.
That was like
Out
everyone
of nowhere.
conspired to keep a secret. Like everyone who worked with us was just like, shh.
Yeah.
Like the last people that should know is them. Like, it's like okay, like,
yeah.
I guess.
When you
was
put it
cool
like that, that's funny.
It was cool that way. Yeah, I mean, I think Jake was like, "Wait, a Grammy? Like a real Grammy? Like,
Is this like?
can I?
But like for real though,
right?
Yeah.
Not a
It's
chocolate
like the
one.
Diet Grammys, you know.
Right, yeah.
The Grammys below the Grammys.
Not a chocolate.
So one of the things I want to ask, I mean, you guys have, this is not something new to you guys. You guys have done, this is probably your, umpteenth interview that you've ever done. I'm sure you've been asked a lot of the same questions, but standing here today, being inducted into the Hall of Fame, knowing that you've been nominated for a Grammy, knowing that you guys are still grinding, you guys are still doing this thing, what is the piece of advice that you can give to the younger generation, like whether they're young musicians, tenured musicians, what can you tell them? Like, what piece of advice can you give them?
Yeah, I would say 3 things. So talent, opportunity, and passion. So for me, when I started, I wasn't good at it. I was not good at playing drums. So the talent was very low.
Which is crazy.
The opportunity, thank you. The opportunity was pretty low. It's like maybe we can play the American Legion. The passion was through the roof.
Right,
And so it's like, man, if you can acknowledge where you are and you can get passion high, the other things might fall in line. They might not.
Right.
But at least you love it.
Right.
And we loved it, dude. This is what we wanted to do with our lives. And we weren't good at it. And we didn't really have opportunity. We didn't have talent, didn't have opportunity, but we had tons of passion. So if you have that element, I think it's enough to say, don't quit your day job, but do it. Especially if you're young. Take a bunch of risk, put everything into it, have fun, and
before you have a family and have to have a mortgage to pay for and everything.
I have a baby at home. Like, I'm tired. Brent's tired.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about my little baby girl right now, and I'm at an award show 30 minutes away. Like, it's cool how life changes.
It's a lot
for
sure.
sure.
I mean, the biggest thing is like drive and initiative. You can look at the internet. There's a million people on the internet who are more talented than you.
Yeah.
Like that's just how it is. So like, what bumps you to that next level? And a lot of it is initiative. and a lot of it is doing your own thing. Like I watch, like there's just so many guitar players online, and they're all just making the same videos. They're all doing the same thing, and it's like, okay, what's going to make you stand out from the pack?
Yeah.
And it's a lot of that. And like Matt was saying, like we didn't have a ton of opportunity, from a small town, trying to play local shows. We booked our own shows, things like that, and take risk was a big one for us. So we sent out demos, and one of the only people who replied was Solid State Records. And they were like, if you guys have any chance of getting signed, you need to drive out to Seattle and you're going to play a show for us so we can watch you play live. And we were just like, oh, man, it was right in the middle of everyone's college semester.
Right. Yep.
And we're just like, okay. And so we thought about it for a little while. Everyone talked to their parents, and everyone's like, all right, let's go. We're going to go. We're going to do it. And so we sent the email. We're like, all right, man, we're coming out. We're going to play. And he was like, you don't have to come play. We just wanted to make sure you would.
Yeah.
And he's like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
crazy.
Plot
story.
twist.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
Smart.
And so they're just like, we just wanted to see that you were serious. And so, yeah, that was that. And it was just showing the drive and the passion and wanting to do it and wanting to work really hard at it.
Absolutely.
Like I said, there's so many talented people out there. But it's like, are you going to honestly push your talent the most, I guess?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you really have to be your own boss. It's like we're
Right.
home for 3 or 4 months, and you could do very
do
little
nothing.
if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But the fear of like, crap, I don't want to look like an idiot
Right.
on the next tour drives you,
Yeah.
and then you say, I'm going to keep doing this because I care about it. I love this. You need to have that. You
Right.
can't just be awesome at something by sitting around.
And even if you are awesome, you can lose it so quick. You can just play songs poorly. Like,
Yeah.
Like I guarantee, like
Get
everyone's
rusty.
at home playing songs constantly.
Yeah.
Like if you aren't going to practice it and so make sure you're good to go every time, then you're
Yeah.
not going to.
I will say one thing too, in case no one has ever said it to you or if you've ever had the opportunity to hear it, but as a fan personally, as someone that's seen you guys multiple times, and as someone that communicates with other fans as well, I think something else you guys could also probably contribute to your success is the humbleness, because I have never had a bad experience with you guys. Every time I've ever gotten the chance to meet you, or even just the way you guys talk to the fans, you guys are always so humble and grounded and just respectful to your fans. And everyone that I know that is a fan of you, that has ever had an interaction with you, says the exact same thing about you guys. And I'm not trying to put you guys on a pedestal, but I really can't think of another band that has that much consistency on something like that. And I do think that could also contribute to some of your guys' success, because I think the fans, like, you guys make the fans want to root for you as well.
Right.
Not only do they just like your music, but they're like, why would we not want these people to succeed? Because you guys are just, you treat everyone just like they're a person. You give them the exact same respect that you guys would expect. And it's not always seen with every other artist out there.
Yeah. Thank you very much for saying
thank
that.
you.
We have a great team. We have a great crew. Like, all the guys in the band are awesome. We're all different. We all have our own interests in some ways, and just, I mean, we have our differences, but like there are some common denominators that are really important things.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened. Small town Mannheim, we just ran into each other. It was so organic, and you can't pick people that work in a way like we do just randomly. And somehow, like, I believe in God. I believe this thing is really meant to be.
Absolutely.
And so you look at that, and you say, well, I can't take that much credit for it. I mean, I work my butt off. We all do, but you have to be humble because it's bigger than just you and the other guys in your band.
And like you look at the people and like they're fans, and a lot of them have been with us for a really long time.
Yeah.
And it's also like
20 years.
These are the people who pay your bills and keep you going. So like if you're not going to be nice to them, who the heck are you going to be nice to? Like it's just like
That's a valid point.
Like,
That's a really good
yeah.
point.
Like, I mean, cut me a break. Like without their support, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
So like it's and you build relationships over time, and like it was just kind of that. And I think when we came out, like, and even now, like the band has always appeared and looked very approachable. Like we dressed in regular clothes. We didn't look like a bunch of metalheads. Like we weren't scary. Nothing like that. So like
it's true.
Any,
It's
like,
true.
So
I mean, like, look, you're like, I just came home from taking care of the pigs. Whatever. And he's like wearing a suit. I'm like, okay. He's like one of the best drummers, like in the scene. Like, okay, cool.
Like in the planet, basically. But
yeah. So like you just you just become like you have to feel approachable, and I think we've always done that. And I think like just like looking like regular human beings can really that helps a lot. You know.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I gotta ask though too, one more thing. With that, has that ever been like hard to do at times? Like, and I want to say that in a specific way. Like, obviously you want to be nice to your fans and everything, but like, there are obviously times where you guys are just exhausted.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, I'm sure there's got to have been times where you're like, I'm pushing through this right now.
Yeah.
How do you guys manage self-care like on the road? Like, how do you guys do that?
I mean, you got to take the time to be private and like have that. Like we're like after the show, it's like we don't like having tons of people in the dressing room, and because there are those moments where like you have a bad show, and the last thing you want is someone coming in the dressing room that like isn't in the band. You're just like, just get out of here, please, because we got to have a conversation. Like, it's just like, things like that. And then there are just moments where it's like, I'm really tired. I don't want to do this right now. But like, that's why for us, like if we're doing a meet and greet, we put it before the show. There's a lot of bands who have them after the show, and I'm like, you guys are crazy. Like, why would you do that to yourself?
That's
like,
true.
You're not going to be like, you're not going to be in a good position. You're going to be. We like to do them before the show. Everyone's awake. Everyone's fresh. Everyone's ready to roll. Yep. And so like we do them then, and like that's on purpose. But I remember one time, I forget if it was you and I who did it. We did a Southeast Asia trip that was ridiculous.
I love the emphasis on it.
And it wasn't ridiculous, and like it was just real. It was planned to like boom, 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 boom. Like it was fly every day, play a show every day, fly every day, play a show every day. So we would like literally play the show. It would end at 11:30, and we have to leave for the airport at 3 a.m. And it was every day like that. And so, and then one day we were going into Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and we land.
Oh, yeah.
This guy hands us a sheet. It was our schedule for what it's going to be. And our tour manager just looks at the sheet and he goes, "When do we sleep?" When we're here. And the guy's just like, you could tell that was not part of the schedule. Like, you're going to come straight off the plane, right to the venue. Our crew is setting up gear. They're like, all right, you guys can go back to the hotel. We're like, great. We show up to the hotel, and they're like, oh, wait, we forgot. We have this interview planned for you. And we're like, okay, like, fine. And so, like, I think Matt and I went and did the interview, and the other guys went up to bed. And the interview was we literally walked into a conference room, and it was like, imagine, like, an NFL interview where there was reporters lining the walls.
Dude,
the whole
stop. I just remembered that. I shut that out of my brain.
The whole way around.
He's like, oh, I don't want to unbox
I
that
haven't
box.
thought about that in 15 years.
Matt and I walk in, we're both just like, oh, like this is not an interview. This is like an ambush.
Bro, it was like national headlines.
Yeah. And we're just like, oh,
Press
no.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that was one of those times we're just like, all right, let's go. Like, do the interview, like, get out of here.
Man.
And I don't think... And then, like, no one slept. We had to go play that show, and it was like 1,000,000 degrees out, and it was outside. And we're like, oh.
And there were probably like 10,000 people there. It was huge. It was like a festival.
Oh, my God.
And you're on your worst case.
Yeah.
You're like, what's up, everyone? We're from America. I'm super tired. Let's do this.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I got with that though. I got one final question then, and then we'll wrap.
Your third and final question.
It is the final question, but I don't know if anyone's ever asked it. What's the I'm sure there's got to be one. What's the number one show that has stuck out to you guys, like out of your entire career?
It's hard to say. Christmas Burns Red this year was really sick.
Yeah, it was the 1 year I couldn't make it. I was really upset. I was sad. I couldn't make it. I know with Devil Wears Prada and everything. I was like,
we'll do it again.
That was probably the best show.
Which one? The first
of our
or
career.
second?
Both of them were so sick.
Yeah, dude. But the lead up was not. I got really sick.
Matt couldn't practice the whole week.
I missed the entire week
of rehearsals.
He had the stomach fire. We had everything, and I'm sitting up at my house 5 minutes away. Like
we can record. We can record every single show with our soundboard. So we went in and we just pulled out Matt's drums from previous shows, and we put them all in our in-ears, so that way when we were rehearsing, we at least heard drums.
Okay.
But he wasn't there.
That's got to be like, for the person that's listening, they're like, this breakdown is really missing something.
I mean, luckily there's no one there. Like, luckily it's just us.
No, it's just us. But I'm
yeah.
sitting there thinking, crap, I'm about to play for like 5,000, fans from all over the country.
Yeah.
And there's fire cues. I'm going to be as surprised as our fans where they
are.
Oh,
God. Okay. That's
okay. Plus, I lost, energy and weight, and I couldn't really practice that. I practiced as much as I could, but man, you just got to go into that like, all right.
Yep.
Here we go.
Send it.
I have to hold this band together.
Right.
That's my only job. the glue. Like I
It's
have
true.
to be the glue.
It's true.
It worked.
And I remember walking off stage after show 2, I think. We had the encore yet. And Dustin goes, dude, you're killing it.
Yeah.
You didn't play with us at all, and I was a little nervous. And then he goes, we're not quite done, though. So we still have the encore, so I don't want to jinx it.
Right.
And I went back up. I'm like, oh, crap. Like, now I'm nervous. I don't want to mess up.
That's hilarious. Was long. It was like 6 songs.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
What?
Yeah.
Because
6-song encore? Did I hear that right?
The Christmas stuff in there. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, we had like Carol the Bells. And there's
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm so sad I missed this year. And I was like, I just couldn't. I had military stuff going on, so it was what it was.
Yeah.
But, next year I'll be there.
You have a very eclectic life, too.
Yeah.
Military and then this. It's
I
cool.
I
That's
try.
what it's all about, man.
It's exactly right.
That's
You got to have
awesome.
variety. You
I love that.
got to spice it up.
Absolutely.
Sometimes the
You
spice.
up at like Indian Town Gap?
I do go up there all the time, actually. We can talk more about this off camera, though.
I'd like to talk about the planes that fly over my house.
Yeah, why do we have to stop recording
I
this?
would like you to call the White House right now.
Trump.
Yeah. Can you guys stop flying over my house? It's loud.
That would be really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But gentlemen,
Yes.
congratulations on your induction.
Thank you.
Absolutely well deserved.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and thank you for taking the time to speak.
Thank you.
Thanks for
so
having us. I
much,
really
guys.
appreciate it.
Pleasure seeing
Thanks
you
for
again.
having
Thank
us.
you
Yeah,
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Till next time, guys.
See ya.
Later.
Well, that's another special episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. Huge thanks to all of our guests that took some time to meet with us. It was an awesome time getting to meet with those inductees.
And we also want to give a special thanks to the American Music Theater here in Lancaster for hosting the event and allowing us to be backstage and bring all this great content to you guys. Until next time.